嗨，各位你好，我係Wing 林永嫻啦，歡迎嚟泳之友。今日咧我又請咗一個嘉賓，來自遠方嘉賓，佢阿 Mike 係來自 Vancouver 嘅喎，佢係阿 Mike。Hi Mike，Hi how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, I'm really appreciate you come to share your story. And in the show, I will translate a little bit in Chinese and when you speak English, okay? So I'm going to introduce you in Chinese right now. 咁阿 Mike 咧就喺 Vancouver 嚟嘅，佢咧就好細個咧就有呢個肝病㗎，咁但係一路都冇乜事㗎，咁到大個啲咧先至復發咁樣，但係之後都有一個好amazing story，佢點樣克服呢個困難啦，同埋點樣由一個佢係肥胖嘅小朋友變到而家好 shape， 好in shape， 仲要行比賽馬拉松啊！不如我哋等佢同自己講下。Hi Mike, I know you have an amazing life journey you can share, and thank you for sharing with us. And I know you look really good now. You're in great shape and everything. And I know that's not the case long time ago, right? When you were 13. Can you share what happened when you're 13 and all the way to now?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I mean, I didn't really care much about my diet, and I was going through a lot of stress. So I kind of just ate anything. I ate a lot of bread. I ate a lot of, unhealthy food. And then when I got to university, I that habit just got worse and worse and worse. So first year university, I was really stressed out. And when I got to second year, I was already, obese, and my body wasn't able to handle like the stress anymore. So my one day during final exam period in my second year, I actually ended up going into the ER because I had this like infection, and I also had fatty liver disease for, since I was 13. So I knew about it, but it didn't occur to me that it was anything important. And what had happened after that was I realized, like, when I ended up in the ER with this internal bleeding and all the liver stuff, I realized I needed to make a change, and I needed to work on getting my health back. So that's when I started to actually look into different ways of changing.
OK， 咁阿 Mike 咧就話佢細個嗰陣時咧13歲嗰陣時開始，佢已經知道自己有個肝硬化有肥嘅肝㗎啦。咁但係佢就唔係好 care，唔做好多嘢啦，一路都係食啲唔健康嘅嘢啦，中意食乜就食乜啦，同埋佢肥胖啦。咁到佢讀中學、大學啦，到2年班，因為好多壓力啦，讀大學突然間佢就唔舒服啦，就去咗急症室啦。咁由嗰度開始再問下佢啦。So you say you are eating unhealthy food and fat. Can you tell us how many pounds you were before, if you don't mind?
Well, I was getting close to 200, but I'm not tall, so
wow.
I think that's the issue. Like I wasn't tall, and the thing about fatty liver that I learned afterwards is that maybe on your outside it doesn't look really fat, but a lot of the fat is internal, and that's the issue.
OK， 咁佢話佢以前咧差唔多200磅嘅，佢唔係好高嘅，所以好肥胖嘅。咁佢話主要其實唔係淨係睇外表肥，係裏邊嘅脂肪喺個肝度係好多壓住咗嘅，所以咁先至係最緊要嘅 problem 咯。So you say you eat a lot of unhealthy stuff, right? So what is the stuff you love the most when you were young?
Well, I really liked pop when I was young. I also really liked eating like bread. I've always loved bread. Even to this day, I still love bread, but just not as crazy as I was before. So just to give you an example, so the night before I went to the ER, I had 6 muffins from Tim Hortons as dinner all at once.
6 muffins for dinner. Oh my God. Were you in college?
Right? I was, and that was the only thing. So I had 6 at once.
Oh, just for dinner.
Yeah,
oh
and
my
then I had a
God.
block of cheese.
Wow.
As well.
Wow. So 咁我問阿 Mike 佢食啲唔健康嘅嘢啦，我問佢點樣唔健康法啦，佢話去急症室前一晚佢嘅晚飯咧就係6個嗰啲muffin 就係嗰啲好似啲 蛋糕咁樣噶啦，食要嚟做食晚餐喎。咁我同埋佢好中意食麵包喎，嗰啲咁嘅嘢。佢以前係食得好瘋狂嘅喎。No wonder 6 muffins for dinner. Oh my god! you pay the price, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pay the price really until it added up. And then it got to a certain point, it was just too much, and then it was like, okay, you know.
Yeah, so 咁啊，我就同佢講，佢話而家就即係以前食咗咁多唔健康嘅嘢啦，佢終於即係呢啲唔健康嘅嘢就去到個害處就真係出嚟啦。Okay, so after you go to emergency room and what happened?
Well, the wait at the emergency room was very long. And I guess during that time I had a lot of internal bleeding, and I knew I was having internal bleeding. So the 6 hours that I was waiting for the doctor was really stressful because this was at 3 a.m. So it was, it was a lot. And then afterwards, of course, it took a big toll on my exam season, because that was, that's the worst time to be sick. Yeah, and then afterwards, the doctor they had me tested for things, and I was going for a scan for my livers, and they were like, your fatty liver is still here, and you've had it for a long time, so if you don't take care of your fatty liver, it'll become cirrhosis, and once you get to that stage, then it becomes like irreversible. So they really told me I had to like look after my health.
Okay. 咁佢要就急症咧，原來佢有內出血，3個鐘頭不停咁樣出咗血，咁醫生之後同佢講啦，就佢如果再唔照顧take care 佢自己個身體咧，咁咧就好難冇藥醫噶啦，之後就 yeah, so did you learn a lesson after that?
I did. Oh, it definitely is a hard lesson to learn, and I think it's one of those lessons where you have to keep it in mind for the rest of your life, kind of thing. And it was hard because I was much younger back then, and I didn't know, like, I didn't take any of this seriously.
係啦，咁我問佢係咪我問佢係咪一個好點講啊？一個上咗一堂好寶貴嘅課啦。咁佢話係啊，咁因為佢嗰陣時好細個啦，13歲，咁佢又唔知道咁嚴重喎，咁所以咧就算13歲，佢知道係有嗰個 fatty liver disease， 但係佢都冇做過任何嘢，所以到佢去到大學嗰陣時先至突然間唔舒服，咁佢就要決定要做啲嘢去幫佢自己啦。So what do you do after that to help yourself to get more healthier?
Well, I think my journey after that was very extreme as well. So what I did right after that was I started to run. I started to so a friend that went to school with me and I started to run at the lab at UBC because we were both in the same program in engineering, and engineering itself is very hectic. It's a very difficult program,
stressful.
Especially in second year. Yeah, very stressful. So we went to run in the labs at UBC, and it started off with just one or two laps, and she and I would just like run together and try to figure out, okay, like we got to keep pushing. So eventually we signed up for the Sun Run, and then from the Sun Run we kind of that was the first 10K that I ran, that I run nonstop. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can do this 10K. Let me, do something more. So I signed up for a half marathon, which is 2 weeks after. 2 months after. And then once I finished that, I saw that there was a event at Grouse Mountain. So I did 50 grouse grinds that summer as well, just to get into fitness. So that was part one.
咁阿Mike 就話，咁佢之後要做咗啲咩嚟解決個問題咧？因為醫生話佢唔再去做啲對自己好嘅幫助佢就會好多問題㗎啦。咁佢就開始跑步啦。咁初咧就跑 10K， 跟住咧就一路加上去，跟住又跑到係一半嘅馬拉松添喎。然後跟住佢繼續㗎，係啦。And then what happened? You gonna one more?
Yeah, so after that, I actually made a goal to do 100 races by the time I was 25.
Wow.
Yeah, so after that, I started to do more and more races, and I went from not being able to run to doing like I would be doing a race every weekend. So I've done like over 30 half marathons. I've done
Wow.
quite a few full marathons. And throughout this journey, like with all of these things in place, I started to eat healthier, and eventually I lost the weight. And yeah, and I guess that's when I started to get involved with the Canadian Liver Foundation in advocating for fatty liver awareness.
哦，OK，咁阿 Mike 就開始跑半個 marathon，跟住就跑一個成個 marathon，咁佢就跑咗好多個啦。而家佢已經拎咗個目標，就係25歲咧就要跑到100 marathon。You say by 25?
Yeah, by the time I turned 25, I wanted to do 100 different races. So
Okay.
the reason why it was 100 was because at that time there were over 100 liver diseases, and I wanted to do each like a disease, like a
Oh,
race
I
per
got
disease.
it. So the meaning behind it. OK，咁
Yeah.
阿 Mike 就 set 咗個目標，佢就要到25歲咧就要跑100個比賽㗎。咁咧佢跑100個咧，因為咧 liver disease 係有100個唔同嘅種類，咁佢每跑一次咧代表每一個種類嘅liver disease。咁佢亦都參加咗呢個 Liver Foundation。Canadian Liver Foundation 嘅，咁而家咧佢就幫助好多人籌款啦，咁希望可以幫到其他人啦，唔係淨係即係佢人哋幫佢，佢而家都幫人咯。Yeah, so I probably not that easy just to by you not really exercise all the way to even join the races, do the marathon, and can you tell us how you train yourself to do that?
Well, I think to train to do that, it's actually not an overnight thing. It took, I think, 5 years altogether in the making to actually even get to that point. And it all starts with just getting out and starting to run, and then from there, you start to do things like, okay, like maybe I can change my diet like this way so that I can run better, or I can change my shoes this way so that I can, my feet doesn't hurt as much from running. So it's like through a lot of this like iterative process that you start to learn many different things and how your body handles it. And before you know it, you'll get to a point where you can run much faster, and you'll lose like the weight, the 30, 40 pounds that I've lost in that whole time period. It just came right off.
Wow. 咁佢話其實即係我問佢你點樣練翻嚟㗎？由一個唔做運動嘅人200幾磅去到而家咁 fit，又可以跑馬拉松啊，又可以參加咁多比賽。咁佢話唔係一朝一夕嘅呢啲要時間咯。佢話其實佢用咗5年嘅時間，佢改咗佢食嘢習慣啦。咁由跑步又要改用或者改係用其他鞋啦。又或者要唔同嘅方法點樣令到自己跑得輕鬆啲啦、多啲啦咁樣。咁佢話除咗食嘢運動咁佢已經減咗係差唔多而家40-50磅。So you lost about 40-50 pounds so far from the time you start running?
Yep, I lost around 40-50 pounds, and I think over this period as well, like I had my fatty liver tested again, and it was gone by the time I finished after my first marathon was done. I remember going to the ER to the hospital to get a checkup, and the fatty liver was cleared at that point. So it's really about it's like a slow process, but you'll like eventually get there if you just keep going at it.
咁佢話由佢5年前開始跑到而家，佢嘅liver 再翻去 check 已經冇咗啦嗰啲 disease，咁佢亦都減咗好多磅啦。咁我不如問下佢食嘢習慣係點樣食法啦。So how do you change your diet? Like, I know you eat a lot of muffin before for dinner, right? So now how's your diet? Or you can tell about your example. What you eat for dinner now?
Well, I think honestly, I'm not a firm believer of like cutting out all the junk food all at once, because it doesn't work like that. The more you try to resist it, the more you'll want it. You end up eating more. But I can say as a matter of fact that I've never touched another muffin from that place that I bought the muffins from ever again after that night.
Oh wow! So so that's a big change 啊！咁佢話阿咪就話佢話佢冇完全唔食啲即係零食，佢都食啲嘅，因為如果完全唔食咧，佢會可能仲更加想食多啲嘅。咁但係佢話完全就冇買到佢入急症室之前嗰個 muffin 嗰個 place 咧，就完全冇去到，再冇食過啦。跟住以後就 so what's your diet now? What do you eat the most? Or can you give me an example for what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Well, I think for breakfast I had oatmeals, and then for lunch I had dumplings with boiled vegetables, and for dinner I'm probably gonna have noodles with boiled like meat or vegetables. But every day is different, and I think during that time that I was losing like the most amount of weight, what I had was I had oatmeal for breakfast, and then I would have avocado with like whole wheat like toast every day. That really did it. The avocado was great because it's filling, it has really good proteins and fats. And then for dinner I would have really simple like steamed things. So not a lot of deep fried foods, although I do eat deep fried foods sometimes too. It's not like
Before.
completely cut out.
OK，咁阿咪就話我問佢，咁你可以俾個 example 早餐、晚餐、晏晝食咩啊？咁樣早餐咧就通常食啲麥皮啦，咁食個牛油果啦，佢牛油果好好啊，因為會好飽肚啊，亦都好多好嘅營養。咁晏晝可能食啲菜啊，食啲餃子啊，夜晚可能食啲肉啊，少少菜啊，咁然後跟住俾碗麵啊咁樣咯。So is the portion is smaller than before? What's the difference than before? So you don't eat I know you eat a lot of muffin. Beside muffin, like is your portion before you eat a lot, or what made you into like a 200-pound person before?
Well, I think some of the things that also changed is the things that I've eaten. So it's not necessarily about like the portion, but really about what the food is. So one of the things I used to drink a lot is pop, and everybody knows that pop has a lot of sugar. So I've completely cut out pop. I haven't really touched pop at all, and like drinking things like even a bottle of like soda, for example, it can have so much sugar in it that's like your entire day of sugar allowance in just one can. So like cutting all of that out helped a lot, and then just like eating foods that's like more focused on healthier nutrition and more wholesome ingredients. Like I think steamed vegetables and rice, like whole grain rice, is also really helpful. And I guess it also depends on each person's metabolism too. And with more running, your metabolism is higher, so that eventually kind of built itself in as well.
True，咁阿咪就話佢其實個份量唔係話好唔同，但係食嘢嘅質素就好唔同咯。以前可能食啲冇咁多營養嘅嘢啊咁樣，而家咧就比較注重食啲嘢有營養高嘅嘢啦。咁同埋最主要咧，佢就唔飲汽水。以前咧就佢好中意飲啲汽水，係咁灌落去，其實一罐已經有成8斤糖噶啦，你一日飲一罐都頂唔順嘅。咁所以佢話而家完全就唔戒晒汽水啦，唔飲啦，淨係飲水。咁變咗咧個身體啊，咁你就唔會話會好容易肥咯。同埋佢話最緊要係你每個人嘅消耗量都唔同。佢而家開始運動啦，可以以前可能多咗嗰啲卡路里，而家可以 burn 咗佢咯。咁I believe the exercise is very important and so how many days how long do you exercise per day now?
Well, nowadays I because I'm not racing these days as much, so I don't exercise as much as I used to when I was actually running the races every weekend. But back then I would work out pretty much every day. Like I would run every day, 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers a day. Maybe there's rest days in between there. And if anybody is interested in running or in getting into that sport, there's a lot of books that you can read that will give you training plans on kind of what you need. So it really depends on what kind of what your fitness goal is. And my fitness goal right now is just maintenance. So maybe I'll go out for like a really long walk, like 5-10K walk kind of thing. I'll still do that, but I won't be like exercising like twice a day or every day doing like these hard, crazy runs.
OK，咁啊，我問佢每日用幾多時間去運動啦。咁佢話以前比賽嗰陣時咧，就每日都有運動運動就會多啲嘅。咁咧就跑步啊。咁而家咧佢係主要係唔係比賽啦，而家就比較即係去 keep up 自己嘅啫。咁佢每日都會去行嘅，而家去行10公里啊，10 kilometer you say for walking，yeah。so 咁佢哋就咁而家就比較係即係去 keep up 個身體就唔係比賽咯。So you mentioned about the book will keep you help you about doing competition and running and all that. Do you remember the name of the book?
There's actually many books you can do, and if you go on, like for example, if you're running the Sun Run or any 10K race, a lot of the races will have a learn to run 10K or run 10K faster training plan, and in the training plan it'll give you like a time period. So there's a couple of ones I've seen where it's like 16 weeks, and then on there it teaches you like every day this is how much you should run, and then there's days in there where you need to do strength training or you need to take a day off just for your body to recover. So there's many different names of those books, and you can find them by simply signing up for a race and see if they have it, or you can Google search, learn to run 10K, or if you're really ambitious, you can start with the half marathon, or there's also the full marathon, but the full marathon is very ambitious at like if you haven't run before.
In this training 嚇，所以咁我問阿 Mike 咁，阿 Mike 有啲咩書佢睇有好多書可以幫助佢參加比賽啊溫寧。咁如果有朋友有興趣想去跑呢個馬拉松咧，咁佢有好多網上啊或者 even 書局啊都有好多書幫你咧，佢會 set 個 schedule 俾你，應該係點樣 train 法啦、食嘢啦、啲時間啦，同埋可能要 take 啲 break 啦，咁唔可以不停咁樣去運動㗎。咁佢話如果你真係有興趣咧，好多書本咧都幫咗好多嘅喎。So did you read all those books to help yourself for training? Is it how you learn to train?
Yeah, so initially, I think I started off as like doing what everyone would do. I just put on a shoe and I went and I ran. But I think most people, once you've done that for a while, you start to notice, why can't I go any faster? Or why is this part hurting? Why is my knee having issues? Why is my leg having issues? And that's when I started to research, okay, so these are the different reasons why these are common injuries to runners, and this is why I need to do things a certain way. So it all started off with curiosity. And I guess one other thing I should also mention is if anybody is interested in getting into running or doing any exercise regimen that is not something that they normally do, they definitely should consult with their doctors first, because there's some people that actually are not really recommended to run just because they might have like cardiovascular problems that might have caused some issues. So that's also important too.
OK， 咁佢話如果有興趣嘅朋友跑步啊或者比賽咧，最緊要咧就係要問一問你嘅醫生先，因為可能你嘅身體咧未必負荷到跑咁長嘅路啊咁樣，同埋你訓練嗰陣時都有好多唔同嘅方法。咁因為佢嗰陣時自己訓練嗰陣時咧就覺得去到某一點地方，點解唔可以跑得快啲啊？點解呢度做唔到？點解呢度痛啊？咁其實就係做啲係唔正確咯，做啲嘢。咁如果你問啲醫生啊或者做啲 research 啊，做啲正確方法咧，咁你就會做到啦。So what do you overcome? What problem do you have when you're running, and how you overcome it?
There could be many problems of why you would have like some problems. So for example, if you run too much, then something that you could get is a stress fracture, and that's caused by the amount of force that's being put on your bones, and that causes little tears in your bones. So because of those little tears, it's essentially a broken bone, and that's done by having way too much distance without having the proper buildup to get to that piece. Other common issues that I've also encountered myself is like plantar fasciitis, where it's the bottom of your leg, your foot. Because I personally have like flat arches. That requires more arch support for running. So normally people have an arch that's like this, and sometimes some people's arches are really high, some people are flat. But the difference between the arch, it will determine what kind of shoe you should wear. And the shoes, some like for people with flat feet like me, you would actually need to have shoes that have more support in the middle. So this way, when you're running and your shoes is wearing itself out, the middle part doesn't wear out fast. So that causes injury. So those are like some of the common issues that runners typically have that I've encountered.
咪話佢嘅 problem 咧就係佢個腳咧係好平嘅，有啲人叫做平腳啊，咁因為應該有個 arch 咁樣噶嘛腳，如果你腳平咧就冇乜 support 㗎，所以你揀鞋都好緊要啊，有多啲 support 俾你咧，咁你咧就隻腳冇容易受傷啦。It's true, you know, my kid is ice skater. And their feet, it's like you, they have flat feet too. So they have to use a custom insole so to give them support. Otherwise, their feet get really painful. Yeah, once they have put the insole, have the support, problem solved. Yeah, I think it's very important. Yeah. So the custom insole is very important to have in order to avoid injury. Once you injure, you can do anything, right?
And oftentimes when you're injured, you have to take a lot of time off of doing things. So that's why it's I think it's learning, like there's a lot of science behind these things. And especially like for a lot of runners, they, you know, like you can do a 10K by getting like a pair of shoes and going outside and running. But a lot of times if you're going to get more serious or run more, then definitely the investment needs to be there, or else you risk injuries like down the road.
It costs you probably more to see the doctor and pay a medical bill than a good shoe, right? That's how I look at it. That's why the insole is costs quite a lot, you know, compared to you almost like as much as the shoe, you know, the insole. But I think it's worth it because you know, you see a doctor, it costs you more. 咁我同阿咪就話如果有即係好嘅 support 鞋啊，會幫你好多啦。因為如果唔係咧，你即係injure 你傷咗去睇醫生嗰啲錢仲多過你買嗰對鞋嘅錢或者個 insole 嘅錢喎。Yeah, I think that's a really good advice for the runner and anyone to do sport, right? They have to have the good support and good equipment. Right, to start, and then for runner, the shoe is very important. It's all based on your shoe and everything. So have you encountered any injury so far?
Yeah, I've encountered most of the injuries in the books that I've read. So that, you know, like everything, because over the whole period of, you know, when I was doing the 100 races, I went all the way up to the marathon and a little bit beyond. Wow. And you know, at the beginning, I was just like, I'm gonna do a 10K. I'll sign up for a 10K. It's easy. And then I wore that same pair of shoes for my next couple of races before I realized, like, oh, why am I hurting like this? And then from there, I started to like change, and then I realized there's different injuries that come with more sports that you do. So I've encountered like at least I would say I can't keep count, but maybe 5 to 10 different problems I've had with like different mechanisms. Yeah.
Wow. 咁我問阿 Mike， 咁佢跑咗咁耐啦，佢有啲咩問題咧？佢話本啲書提過嘅問題佢都有啊，差唔多成10個咁多啦。So out of the 10 injury, which one is most serious?
Honestly, I don't think like personally, this is for me, but I don't think any of them were really serious because I think a lot of runners, when they run into a situation, they start to get deterred and they stop running altogether. And then they get back to being the way they were, like, you know, chubby, eating things and all that. So it's not really a way, like nobody should let the injuries deter them. But I think the injuries is more of a way for people to see, okay, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I need to see a professional to, you know, to figure out, okay, is the way I'm running this okay? Is the shoe I'm wearing okay? Or what kind of massages do I need to do this? Or what kind of muscle area needs strengthening? Like these are all different questions that people really should be asking themselves if they get injured. But a lot of people, they just give up once they get injured.
咁我問佢佢有咁多個 injury， 佢有10個啦，邊個係最重要啦？咁佢話其實全部都唔係話好 serious，但係要每一個 問題你都要去解決咯。如果唔係咧，就越嚟越嚴重㗎啦。咁問題點樣解決下先啊？咁 so do you know so what do you do to help all the injury? Like you mentioned about the massage, you mentioned about the strengthening exercise. So can you give us some advice, like for people who want to run, and what kind of strengthening exercise you do, and what kind of massage they should use?
Yeah, so it really depends what kind of strengthening exercise and the massage is all dependent on what kind of situation each person has. So I strongly recommend people who want to run to also kind of be in collaboration with their doctors as well, because it's, like I'm not a medical professional, so I can't give medical advice on what people should really do. But at the same time, it really depends on kind of what people's biomechanics are, because all of us are built differently. And what works one way for somebody might not work another way for another person. But some of the good strength training things that I know of is you can do general conditioning. Like, for example, if your body's muscles, like if your leg muscles are imbalanced, and that could cause injuries to the muscle that's overcompensating and all those kind of things. And as an example, when I was running a marathon, it was like 36 kilometers in, that's when I started to feel like my legs, because one of my legs is more dominant than the other one. So I started to feel the muscle of the one that's overworking to start to cramp up really bad. And unfortunately I had to limp the rest of the way, but I still finished in like 3.5 hours, which is okay. But it's like things like that where everybody's built differently, so it's really hard to like really say what, but there's some general things people can do.
Okay, so seek medical help is the more important thing, right? To check your body first, and then see they recommend exercise for you to strengthen different part of the body, right? Yeah. 咁我問阿 Mike，咁有啲咩好嘅 exercise 啊？佢點樣做法啊？會即係更加強健你嘅身體啦。咁佢話每個人嘅 build 都唔同啦，好似佢咁就有一啲 muscle 係強壯啲，一啲弱啲嘅。咁個醫生咧就recommend 唔同嘅嘢去 balance 佢啲 muscle 啦。咁其他人亦都有唔同嘅問題啦。咁所以咧佢就 recommend 如果你真係想去即係專注都要跑咧，咁一定要問下你醫生啊，或者啲專業人士點樣去強壯你嘅身體啊，同埋要 check 你嘅身體邊啲弱點啊，咁樣先至可以幫你去做啲 exercise 嘅。咁I know it's true, like my kid doing ice skating, they jump, they twist, and then I have 3 kids. 2 of them is okay, but one of them they twist too much. The hip I kind of like twisted. So they have to diagnose the problem first, like what's the problem, and then they give them exercise to correct the hip. So I think it's true. You kind of need them to diagnose your problem first, and then based on what your problem to how to fix it, right? Otherwise, you don't really know like what kind of exercise to do when you don't even know what's the problem, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also the other thing too is that a lot of times the problems that you get once you increase your mileage or you do something new, it's totally different than the problems you're going to face when you're not doing those things. And they tend to bring out the problems, like, for example, if you have flat feet and you're just walking around every day, you're not going to feel it as much as if you were running and doing a lot of mileages. And like it really depends on what you're doing, and it's kind of scalable like that.
It's true. 咁佢話如果你問題其實係 based on 你需要用幾多去用盡你嘅消耗力啦。譬如如果你個腳係平嘅，你行路通常都唔會點樣好痛㗎啦。但係如果你要去跑馬拉松嘅話，咁你就即係可能要揾啲 support 啊，可能要問下醫生點樣做法啊咁樣咯。Yeah, so I think it's great that it help you so much with your problem, the disease, liver disease, and from you have problem and now you don't have problem. And so now what's your goal in your life now? You already ran the marathon, you already did all that, and everything become normal now. So what's in your future? What's going to be your goal?
Well, I think fitness-wise, I just want to maintain like a certain level. I mean, I am looking into running again. Like next week, I'm actually sign up for a virtual race that I'm gonna do.
How do they do virtual race?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. So what you do is you just register for the race, and then you would use like an app. So there's like Runkeeper, or you can use Strava, and then you record yourself when you're racing. So and then that gets uploaded to the race system, and then they just have a leaderboard at the end of each event.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. 咁啊，我問阿 Mike 佢暫時有啲咩目標啦？咁佢因為已經佢嘅fat liver 嘅 problem 已經去到 normal 啦，又跑咗馬拉松啦，咁佢會做啲咩咧？佢話佢會 join 一個係叫 virtual running competition 喎。原來佢哋可以喺網上度比賽嘅喎。咁你真係 record 咗自己跑啊啲時間就撈上去個網度，佢哋就會跟你嘅時間啊去嚟決定邊個係 winner 啦。That's very interesting. Is this Have you done that before, or this is your first time? Have you done that before?
Yeah, I've done it before.
The virtual running?
Yeah,
oh, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know you can do virtual running. You can record yourself and still competing. So how many people joining the competition? Is it like a big competition?
I think so. So the race I'm doing next week is a race that happens every year at Granville Island. It's called the Granville Island Turkey Trot. I've been volunteering for that since 2008, but this is kind of like a new thing that they're trying, an online version. There's usually about like a good few hundred people that do it.
Wow, that's interesting. I need to find out, see if they have in LA. That's fun. That sounds like, something fun for the kid to do, and now they have so much time, and that is cool. 咁佢話呢個race 咧，佢下禮拜就會比賽㗎啦。咁佢係點講啊 ？volunteer 係啲可以去嗰度幫助嘅參加者啦。咁佢又會喺嗰度比賽。我話如果應該去第二個地方都有咁嘅幾好喎。Yeah, that's a really cool one. Yeah, so it's good to know that you are able to do all that and using running to helping you to be from a problem, and now you have no problem and you still keep going. It's good that you keep going and keep running and keep in shape. See, you look so good now. and your eating habits change. Yeah, so do you think that's like really like a turning point to your life and changing your life perspective and regarding to work and study and everything? Do you think like big change?
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge change to kind of the way I do a lot of things. I think it's it's growing pains, right? It wasn't easy. None of it was easy. Like the whole process itself was difficult. But even like, together with like being sick and also how that affected my school, when I was in school, that was also very challenging too. So when you put all those things together, it wasn't an easy journey to push through, especially in a really intensive program like engineering, and it was a lot, but it definitely made me more mature of a person than I was before.
Now you feel healthier, better, so you don't have that many problems. You can focus in more like your work and just your life is probably really different, huh?
Yeah, it definitely is very different than what it was before.
咁我問阿 Mike 即係而家全部嘢譬如跑步啊，同埋變翻正常啊，又冇肥胖啊，對佢人生有咩影響？佢話有好大影響，因為咧以前喺讀大學嗰陣時咧就成日都病啦，咁變咗考試又考唔到啦，有好多嘢有問題啦。咁而家全部嘢正常咗之後咧，做嘢都容易好多咯。咁啊，我諗對佢人生行嘅路應該都順好多㗎。係啊 ，Yes, that's great to know that all this help you to make your life better, and you can focus on more your work, and you don't have to go through all that seeing a doctor and being sick, being tired, right? So well, I'm hoping and wishing you all the best here, and thank you for your time and come up to share your experience, and know that all that will help you for your work in the future. Yeah, so thank you so much for your time. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, and hope you wish you all the best. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wing.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Hi，多謝大家收睇我嘅節目，記得 subscribe and 俾 like 啦。